Good evening. Welcome. Well, management of emergencies in Nigeria is a major issue we take for granted. How do you find yourself in an emergency situation and you don't know what to do? Oftentimes we blame everything on this is not happening from this government, that is not happening from this company. But what about how do you manage your own situation at home, for example, or on the street you see somebody who is in dire need of urgent first aid, or indeed just being saved from a situation that could hitherto have cost him his life. Now, tonight we'll be discussing all issues surrounding culture of emergency management in Nigeria. Is it possible really that Nigerians are not capable of managing their situations emergency-wise? I don't think so. I do think that ignorance could be a factor that limits the ability to take seriously what is emergency in your situation. Apart from that, I have seen the highways. I've also seen that there are a lot of men. Okay, let me not get too carried away with ad-libbing. There are a lot of heavy-duty vehicles on the bridge of Lagos. Not just bridge, but bridges of Lagos. And they're running into hundreds, maybe thousands, who knows? Now, we've also been told that serious emergency situations have occurred, especially if you're going from Alaka, entering Eko Bridge, coming into Lagos Island. You have that highway that's filled up, that bridge that's filled up with so many heavy-duty vehicles, and there are a lot of accidents happening there, and when an accident happens there, somebody dies instantly. Well, tonight, we're going to be discussing how to manage our situations when it comes to emergency. What's the emergency culture of Nigerians? And what's the emergency culture of Nigeria? Where does the government play a role in this? And where do the people even equally cooperate with government and they play a role? Well, they have the General Manager of LASEMA, which is the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Adesina Tiamiyu, who is here with us in the studio. And I'm glad to have you on my show.
I'm happy to be here too.
Thank you very much. I have tried to rigmarole a bit. Let's make sense of what I've just talked about.
Okay.
Emergency culture in Nigeria. What does it mean to any of us?
Well, emergency culture, the way I will put it is, what are those emergencies that are around you first? What are those emergencies that are, far away from you? What are your roles in the one that is near to you and the one that is far?
Okay.
Now, if you look at all of this, while we were growing up, there are basic things we were taught. Do not stand on the doorway.
I remember that.
As simple as it is.
Yes.
It has a meaning in emergency management. Because when an emergency occurs, the first thing people do is to want to run away, if it is in a home, for instance, and there's somebody standing at the doorway. Of course, that's an hindrance to your safe escape.
And the person standing at the doorway could also be at risk.
Is also at risk. So if all of this, including the one that is happening to other people, did you feel concerned? Are you happy if someone is injured because you know what he could do or what you could do and you refuse to do it? Must we put all of this in the hands of an emergency responder like me? What should you do to prevent emergency? But where you cannot stop it, what else do you do?
Let's put these things in context, because as you were talking, my mind was running around with fire in the house,
Yes.
accident on the highway, and somebody just dropping, collapsing on the highway. And do we even know how to teach people some first aid before we even call in the ambulance?
Well, we have to start this from the school. Those basic things that we were taught.
Okay.
Now, when you are in a home, while I was growing up, a majority of those who are my contemporaries will know that there is what we call the first aid box in our schools.
Okay.
It is also in some homes. Do we have them in schools today? That's equally important. When you have just a cut on your hand, there's somebody who is in charge of managing that in school, even in primary school. Now, when you go to such people, they are treated, they are trained to treat that cut to ensure that it is not infected. And then you are now advised to go for further check if it is heavy. Those are the basic things they could do in school. Now, you know that playing with, a blade could injure your hand.
Very sharp object.
Yes, very sharp, and you are warned to stop playing with them if you don't know how to manage them. These are cultures that we grew up knowing. This is not dying. We must revive this because it is important. Emergency does not start and end with any responder alone. Of course, it starts with individuals. You are in a home. You're boiling water, and at the same time doing something else. You are not focused. Anything can happen if you forget. You are ironing clothes, and at the same time watching a program. Your mind is divided between the two. You're going to have an emergency on your hand if care is not taken. All of this, if you look at it, that is your own role as a human being. You must protect your home, your environment, your family. It is not that of a father alone, but everybody. So let's teach our children from the cradle what they should do when things happen, what they should do and not do in the house.
Okay, that's in the house. On the highway, a car breaks down. Maybe I've seen a lot of cars where the front wheel, one side of the front wheel just breaks. Say it's like a man breaking a leg, you know. And then right there and then, they can't move the car out of the road. So they start working on repairing that breakdown right there in the middle of the road. Heavy traffic. I'm told that's against the law.
It is.
But that is happening. And that creates a hazard, doesn't it?
It does.
So why are people allowed to do that?
Well, as an emergency responder, each of agencies involved have separate roles to play.
Yeah.
But I will not take away this responsibility of educating Nigerians. When you have a situation like that, the first thing you should do when you come out of your car is to look for your C caution, those safety signs, and place them to alert an oncoming vehicle that there's danger ahead.
Is that still being done?
Some people still do it.
Okay.
I see people while I drive on the road, place C caution. And then you must ensure that first, you are also safe. Don't do that and stand in the way of an oncoming vehicle, flying your handkerchief or something. No. Then the next step, how do you get this thing out of the way as quickly as possible? Lagos State
Isn't
government
that where we're supposed to call LROU?
Yes, Lagos State government has made it easy for you to do that. Don't waste time. Call for help.
What number should they call?
Call 112 or 767. And
Please say that again for emphasis.
112 or 767.
Okay.
If you call this number, a response mechanism will be activated to come to your aid and pull that vehicle out of the road to ensure that we don't have what we call secondary incident.
Okay. Soni Irabor Live tonight is emphasizing this because of what has happened in recent times, and I'm worried. I'm worried because I see for a fact that every time you're on the highway, you see people doing certain things that are not supposed to be done. The things we have mentioned now are some of the situations at stake. But before we go into the deeper end of this very serious topic, we'll go on a short break and be right back thereafter.
The Lagos State government has assured homeowners using boreholes that it has not authorized any staff or agent to close down any borehole in the state. The general public is hereby advised to report any such person to the nearest police station or dial these toll-free lines 767 or 112. Ministry of Information and Strategy, announcer.
Thank you. Welcome. And emergency management is an interesting phenomenon. And we've identified some things that happened in the past and how to manage them. You've given some numbers just now, which I even saw for other things. Yes. 767 112.
Yes.
Now, is that a central control unit of sort? What is it? Is that an emergency number?
Well, that's the code that you can call. Okay. And it's an emergency number. We look into the fact that most of our GSM have 11-digit numbers,
Yeah.
and that may be very difficult for people to
So
cram.
just quick. Yeah.
So the quick one that is also toll free. This has been paid for by the government. So once you have an emergency, it doesn't matter if you have credit on your phone. It doesn't matter whether you know anybody. You don't even have to know anybody. Call that number, and an emergency caller, emergency agent will pick that call, and a response mechanism will be activated, and help will come.
How do you prepare for an emergency? Dumb question, yes, but we've identified a lot of things. When there's an emergency, when there's anxiety bout, people tend to forget the very first thing they ought to do. What do you think, or what do you advise people to do when something stares you in the face unexpectedly?
You see, those are human, intuition, reaction. It is normal in every emergency situation. But every time we advise that you calm down. Because let's give an instance. If there's an accident and a vehicle somersaults and you are able to escape, we advise that you calm down. Because if you run to want to escape across the road, there are oncoming vehicles that will not know what's going on or will not be able to, apply their brakes immediately. So it's always important you calm down. One, we agree, yes, when an emergency occurs, you are in a state of shock. You are destabilized. And then, but we still manage, we advise that you manage to make that call. Why? When we get into the call center, majority of the agents who pick this call understand the fact that, yes, this person is also under pressure. They have been trained to ask few questions. Because what we discover most time is that people, get infuriated by the many questions you ask. They want to see that help come immediately. But then we cannot activate that help to come to you if we don't get details of what is happening to you.
Okay.
One, we need to know the location, we need to know the type of danger, and then we will now plan what equipment or personnel we will send to you. These are very important because, but immediately we get those few questions, we activate the responders to move ahead. While we can call you back again and assure you that help is on the way, but we can then ask further questions, like the security situation around that area, crowd, situation, because sometimes you need to take with you security personnel to ensure that crowd management and control is superb. You also see that at a typical emergency scene, you see Lagosians, everybody, wanting to come and have a look.
And they don't only just look, they use they
want to be the first to put it on the social media.
Yes.
So we know this, but meanwhile, that is...
Somebody is bleeding to death, and they're filming it.
That's a bad thing, and we need to emphasize this. Please, it does not have to happen to you. If you are driving on the highway and you notice anything, that may create a situation where an emergency responder will be required. Why don't you make that call quick? That call can save many lives. The moment you delay, you see, like everybody think responders come late. No.
That was going to be my next question.
No. You see, there are various factors.
Responses, and all of that.
For us,
timeliness, yes.
For us in LRU, we plan to reach you in 3 minutes, at most.
3 minutes.
At most.
So, where are you located in Lagos
now,
that you can?
That is the challenge. Okay. As we are today in Lagos, we have just 4 centers.
4 centers?
Just 4 centers.
Okay.
Now, if anything happens in Ikeja, we may be able to reach you within that minute. But if it is in Agege, for instance, it may take a little late. Because why? We will also travel from Ikeja here to Agege. And then you now have that road culture of traffic, chaos. You also have indiscipline among drivers who never respect the right of an emergency worker to have their way. You practically battle your way through traffic to reach those who need help.
There's a siren.
Yes.
You hear siren blaring.
And you still see people struggle the road with it.
In fact, we are doing a survey on that now. We found that so far, and maybe I'm letting out a bit out of the bag, but siren response, people say, no, it's policemen trying to take their big men across the way. They're not looking at the emergency situation. They're not even used to ambulances. How do you get people to be conscious of the fact that siren means emergency and a safe route to life,
I
to
think,
saving life?
I think we have to look at it, from both sides. From the side of the people who don't want to respect that law or rules, and then from the side of responders who feel this is bad. One, for us, every of our vehicles are marked.
Okay.
And you can clearly see that these are emergency workers.
That's the uniform you're
Yes,
wearing now.
our vehicles are branded yellow and blue.
Okay.
And then when you see those yellow, these are people bringing help to somebody. It may not be you today, it may be you tomorrow. So you need to assist them to get help to that center in quick time. Now, we also have to look at the side of those who are not supposed to use siren and are using it. Maybe that is where that is bastardized. And it is important we also apply caution. Because for us, when we are coming back from an incident, we really blow siren to come back.
Okay.
But because it is equally important for us to return back to base in quick time, there may be need to blow our way back. But we are more conscious. And to God be the glory, I can say that in the last 2 years, we've never had an accident with any of our vehicles, even though sometimes we have to, speed up to reach where help is needed. So it's a way, we've managed it in such a way that today our drivers are well trained to meander through Lagos roads and then understand the psyche of our people, that sometimes they are tired in the traffic. And the fact that somebody is blowing siren, well, sometimes it is a noise to them. But for us, it's not a noise. If we have a way to avoid blowing siren, of course, we gladly will do. But it's important for us to do that, because that's just the announcement. You need to know that please give us this way to reach where we are going as quickly as possible. So ambulances, for instance, honestly, those are vehicles that you must respect the right and yield the right of way to them.
Whether it's empty or filled.
It doesn't matter. I mean, two wrongs don't make a right.
True.
If you are stopping an ambulance because you want to be sure it's carrying someone who is going, for medical checkup, then you may kill that person. Why don't you allow him to go? You can take the number. If you take any number of my vehicle that is misbehaving on the street and you send to me, why that vehicle had to be on the road or at that particular moment, at that point in time, I will know. Good. Apart from the fact that these vehicles are tracked, they are also monitored.
So what number can they call just before we go on break?
Call 112 and 767 and make that report too.
Okay.
So we make it easy.
Good. All right. We'll go on another break and we'll be right back sooner.
Make your event a memorable one with captivating and well-organized event center at Lagos Television's prestigious Blue Roof with a capacity of more than 3,000 seats and a fully air-conditioned 750 seats combo hall capacity. Suitable for annual general meetings, government functions, exhibitions, religious activities, wedding ceremonies, burials, musical show, and many more in a well-secure environment. Spacious car park, uninterrupted power supply, and impeccable facilities. Take advantage of all of these at affordable rates.
For inquiries, please call 0808-252-8742 or 0802-282-9898.
Lagos Television Event Center, a tasteful event center for your delight.
On an average day, you want to understand that a heavily populated city like Lagos, which is arguably a mega city, probably one of the first six mega cities in the world because of the 22 million people, you will understand that on an average day, the number of emergency calls will be huge. Can you give us a number?
It is indeed huge. Now, 2 years ago, before LRU was formed, there was a record of about 25,000 calls
25,000
in a day.
calls
In a day. But today, with the new rebranding of emergency in Lagos, and with the massive investment by the state government, this has gone to it hovers between 90 to 95,000,
Wow.
35,000. Every day, 90 to 95,000 calls in a day. But I need to explain this. It is not as if all of those 95,000 calls is activated or worked upon. Why? Because some of them are host call. Some are just children trying to play with the number or wanting to confirm. Does this number really work? And then there's the one we call linked calls. Linked call is the one, an accident occurred on Ikorodu Road, which is an A-grade road, for instance, and about 50,000 people are driving through, or 10,000. And because of the number of Lagosians who are, who are aware of what they should do, you see a lot of calls coming in.
On that
About
one
one incident.
Okay.
About one incident.
That helps.
That helps a lot, yes. I mean, we encourage Nigerians. Please keep the call coming, because that also energizes us that this is very, very important. When there are 15
But don't
calls,
you get overwhelmed by the huge number of calls and the fact that you must get there in time?
if I am a responder, I should show courage. I should show resilience.
Okay.
I am never intimidated by whatever number of calls we get. Even if we get more than that, yes, we will respond, because a system is in place to handle whatever. I need to make this clarification.
Yes.
Managing emergency is not that of LASEMA alone. There are other agencies of government that will work together to do this. LASEMA only coordinates and also respond. So we have a dual role here. We respond to some of these emergencies, and then the others we coordinate. The fire service, we work together. The RRS, the task force, NEMA, FRSC, LASMA, the LASAMBOS, the ambulance service, State Environmental Health Monitoring Unit, the unit that is in charge of taking dead bodies off the street. The social welfare. In the call center today, we also created what we call the non-emergency desk, because you find that people call on domestic violence, on husband beating his wife, on somebody maltreating the maid, or someone smoking hemp and is misbehaving, or someone abandoned a baby. So many things. Those are they are classified as non-emergency, but we also take them up.
So is there somebody who does some kind of counseling work at that stage to at least either debrief the caller, or maybe the people who are being called upon, maybe there's a way they can manage the crisis?
Every call center agent have been trained to, first of all, give succor to that caller. Someone is calling and you can see fright, you can see panic. You are also trained to calm them down. Now, don't worry, help will come soon. And then you do not throw away any call. If my mother called, for instance, and cannot speak English, and she can only speak Hausa, we will not throw away that call.
You get somebody
There
who
will
speaks
also
the
be
same
an
language.
Hausa caller around who will come and pick that call and respond, because the resultant effect of not picking that call, a Yoruba man may feel it, or an Igbo man. So it doesn't matter what language you speak. We have been trained to respond and answer your call, and answer you in the language you understand, and then effect response to that call.
Okay, now back to the bridge, the trailers, the tankers, and all those people, vehicles that are constituting a narrowing of the highway and a risk factor. Passing through Eco Bridge, and then maybe Palm Grove and all those places, we've heard a lot of accidents have taken place. Now, have you received emergency calls, and do you have anything to tell us on that?
Well, let me first of all tell Lagosians that the culture of safety starts with you. Basically, when you drive on any road at night, you are not expected to drive on the same speed with which you drove in the afternoon. So this is important for you. In the evening, when visibility is impaired, you must drive carefully and then break your speed. Now, apart from that, you must have very good vision to drive in the night. If you do not know how to drive in the night, please don't. Again, you must not drink and drive, because you need all of your senses, all of the attention to drive carefully well anywhere. Now, today in Lagos, quite sadly, you find a lot of vehicles parked on the bridge, simply because there is a disconnect between port management system and the operators. We have been involved in this over time. And when this thing was not abating, His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, took it upon himself that he has the mandate of the people, and these people must not die. He therefore went to Orile and looked for that trailer park that was there, and we are reactivating it now. That has the capacity to take over 2,000 trailers. What we will be doing is we will now announce when that is ready. For every truck coming into Lagos, you have a park somewhere. Drive in there first, and then the call system should now begin to operate. Where from the port, you can now activate the next set of trucks that should drive in. We will now imagine that driving into Apapa should be smooth for those trucks because they already have a tally for them to come in and load or discharge, as the case may be.
Well, are they supposed to even drive in the daytime and compete with heavy traffic?
There used to be a rule like that. I don't know if it is still operational. But coming to your question, in the last 3 weeks, we've recorded, some major accidents along that route, especially as you climb the Jibo Bridge, emptying into Abati Barracks, and then Ojuelegba Bridge.
Wow. Okay, we're receiving calls.
Hello.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Okay, I want to just contribute to the discussion.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, I want to ask that why can't government introduce the helicopter system?
Okay, that's the question.
Okay.
Why can't government introduce helicopter system?
Thank you very much. I just said recently, some minutes ago that LASEMA is not the only one doing this work.
Yeah.
We have the policemen working with us. And if you know that in Lagos, the RRS have helicopter services. Okay? Now, when it is important for us to call for deployment of helicopters, of course, as a responder, they must join us. Just last week, when we have issues with taking people away from Olusosun and taking control of that site because of a lot of nefarious activities going on there, we had to rely on RRS to fly over that area and give us intelligence report, which we use to manage that crisis. And that is why it didn't snowball into major trouble on that day. Those miscreants set fire on that dome because they don't want to be taken away. But we were able to manage it, and we are still doing. So Lagos State government have a system by which air power can be deployed when necessary. At the Aike House or Lasut in Ikeja, there's an helipad there which ensures that when people have issues and you need to airlift them, maybe from the hinterland onto the metropolitan Lagos, of course we can call for that, and then people will do that. So in Lagos we have that facility.
Okay. All right. Now you were actually talking about...
Yes, on the trailer incident.
Yes.
A lot of vehicles coming in from Ojuelegba, climbing that bridge, especially in the night. Some of them have forgotten that there are trailers that are permanently parked on that bridge. By the time they get there and see these vehicles, two things will happen. They slam their brake. You either swerve to the right and hit the culvert, or you run onto that vehicle.
Okay, we have another caller. Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. My name is Ayo.
Hi, Ayo. Go ahead.
Fine, thank you.
Good. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm calling from Mowe, and I would actually want to know how far does your service cover?
Okay.
If we're talking about Lagos State, does it extend to Mowe area?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure if you try to call 112 around Mowe, you may be lucky and get in. Radius of call.
And when you say maybe lucky, is it that Mowe is not part of Lagos State?
Mowe is not part of Lagos. Mowe is in Ogun State. But
it's on the border.
It's on the border. Okay. But we go across Lagos border to help in Ogun State.
Okay.
So we've been to Redeem Camp before. We've been to Wawa. We've been to Shimawa. All of those areas. Because the truth is, if anything happens on Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, and in Lagos we don't attend to it, we feel the pulse here too.
Yes.
There was an accident on Kara Bridge at a point. The whole of Alausa was almost shut down because no vehicle could pass through. An accident occurred, and then it ignited fire, and it was very huge. So no vehicle could pass. So if we say this is not our territory and we are not going to do it, of course we will also suffer it in Lagos. So we go beyond the shores of Lagos to assist. In fact, we would have loved to go around anywhere, but you see, because we cannot do all. But we also send reports to people in the other side of the state. The people in Ogun State, we have relationship with them, the trace, and the fire service there. You see a lot of people know some people in Lagos and they call. There's a fire incident in Imeko. I remember you are a manager of emergency. I live in Lagos. What can you do something for us? Of course, I can't drive a fire truck from here to Imeko and still meet them. Yeah. Of course, so we can call Ogun State Fire Service. That we got a call from Imeko saying this, and we will get all those details for them and pass it on to them, and they can activate from their own end. But there are times when we have jointly, responded to incidents along the corridor of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and we work, all of us, we work together. We work together.
Okay, Lagos is hugely populated, and situations come from when people are not aware. Even if you are in a neighborhood, you may not be aware of what's happening at the other end. And sometimes they don't even know that they have to let others know. Is there some kind of public service announcement or that can teach people on how to cope with emergency situations? I know this 112767 is very important, but are you getting enough of that? And what should people do in case they don't get through on the 112767? What if the lines are jammed?
There's no way the lines will be jammed.
Okay.
And I challenge anybody to try that number. The system we have in place is to receive multiple calls.
Okay.
As soon as one agent is through with a call, because we are timed, you're not supposed to send beyond so seconds on a call, because there are so many calls trying to come in.
Yeah.
So as soon as that call is through, he picks another one. On an average shift, an agent could pick about 800 calls, 8,000 calls. An agent, just one person. That's within 8 hours. It's huge. It's massive.
True.
So it's important we know that that number truly works.
So what should people do when they are calling?
Now, when
Go
you are
straight
calling,
to the point?
Yes, when you are calling, you don't even need to greet. The agent will greet you and calm you down. But what we need to know from you is what kind of emergency, where has it occurred, what is the crowd situation, in few seconds. Quickly tell us that. If we need to ask additional information, we will pass your number to the responders that are coming. In case they don't understand the road, they can call you and then you give them direction.
How can you give first aid in case of fire incidents, maybe a fire victim, maybe an accident victim, somebody that is in dire need of first aid? Because when people have an accident, what I see is, even in films, they don't even know how to prepare the human being, either lying flat or whether on his back. What are those things that should be done? I know you're not a medical person, but
yes,
some of these
interestingly, on any LASEMA response team today, you have the people we call the paramedics.
Yeah.
So they go with our team to any incident scene. And we also send in an ambulance. On scene, we can treat you, we can do minor, stitching, and then we can prepare you for onward transmission to tertiary hospitals if you need one. So, but it's also important for everybody to know those basic things you must do when an emergency occurs. But no matter what you know, reach out for that number first. If there's a fire in your house, it normally will start small. Don't resort to self-help first. Call the emergency number and then try to do what you can afford to do. Don't go deeper. Don't endanger your life. Remember, an emergency worker is on his way. But when it becomes big, find an escape route. Life is precious. Find an escape route, and then those responders will come.
This point you just made also brings to mind electrocution, electricity, and exposure to, power or current.
Yes, when an emergency or fire incident occurs in the house, you can also quickly reach out for your meter and switch off.
Okay.
That takes away electric from every source. And then you can then use, because water is a good conductor of electricity. If you take water to, fight an electric fire, you're going to get electrocuted. So we advise people. Some of these things you don't even know. So don't take risk. It's important you don't take risk. Did you know that when there's fire, every smoke goes up? If you are trapped in a room and there's smoke everywhere, lie down and crawl.
Okay.
Few meters,
That's a good one.
few meters above the floor, you can still feel fresh air. Don't just stand and start running. You're likely to run into a wall or, because the whole place is dark. But if you live in a home where you usually live, you understand, the terrain, you should be able to find your way out. So even in planning for security of our homes, we must also take into consideration the need for safety. Because sometimes we go to rescue people and we are incapacitated to gain entry ourselves. And those who locked are inside, trapped. So sometimes we have to break the walls or sometimes take our cutters and cut some security barriers. But that takes time. That takes time. A lot of people make mistakes. When you call the fire service, for instance, if you call at the immediate time this thing happens, help will come immediately. But if you resorted to self-help, and then it now becomes so big you can't handle it, you now remember to call 112. A lot of people around will begin to calculate when that incident happened. But that was not when you activated that call. So it's important. I encourage people, call first.
Okay, hello. How are you?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I was going to ask, like, how when you watch films and somebody calls, you were talking about when people come out the crime.
Oh, what a shame. Okay, we lost you there. If you can call again just before the time runs out, we have about 3 minutes or so. We'll still take your call. All right, finally, this trailer thing, I know calls have been coming in, so we've not been able to really exhaust what people driving on the bridge should not speed into a blind end of the bridge.
Yes, it's
especially
important. Yes, when you
ascending,
climb that bridge,
climbing.
and then the next thing you see those trailers. Now, if you live in Lagos, you already understand the fact that they are there. Those are crises we are managing. But honestly, that's not the best for a city like Lagos.
So people who are going out, driving at night, should know how to use their lights, should also be mindful of those who are oncoming traffic and all that.
Exactly.
Is it possible to identify a need for, if the road is not that good in the night, can't we cordon it off? Like these trailer roads now.
Well, we can do that. You see, LASEMA, because we know, prior to setting up LRU, what normally happens is that people go to pick dead bodies in the morning. When a vehicle breaks down, you can almost be sure another one will run into it. But LRU have now devised a means by which, those are power bikes, you see. They are surveillance and monitoring. Anybody who drive on the 3rd mainland bridge today, even in the dead of the night, you find them there. What they are doing is to identify broken down vehicles, set up cones to warn an oncoming vehicle that there is danger ahead, and then they called, the trucks to come and move, those vehicles away. So every night we do the night runs, looking for possible broken down vehicles, and then immediately we take them out of the street. That saves a lot of life.
Okay, so the message simply is, be mindful of what you're supposed to be doing at any point in time. Be careful how you drive, and don't drink when you drive. And also, even at home with emergency situations, call 112 or 767. Don't take the laws into your hands believing that you know what to do. Unless you know what to do, don't even try. However, think of your life as you think of the life of the person you're trying to save. And also, Adesina Tiamiyu has been kind enough to enlighten us more about how we should manage our situations when it comes to, serving, being your brother's keeper. That's the word. Okay? I want to thank you, sir, for coming on the show. And for those of you who have contributed, thank you so much. And Soni Irabor will continue to touch all areas of issues concerning humanity and, of course, governance, followership, leadership, all of them. Science, celebrity, society, we're there for you. We will discuss what is important. And the important thing is respect the rule of law and obey the rule. Thank you. Bye-bye now.